Many of us are feeling stressed by not being able to fulfill these new requirements or to adapt to these new circumstances, and it's normal. But as we human beings are the resilient type, believe me, we will. And the only constant in life is change. So
welcome, Spirit Lifters. Good day, and I hope you're doing well. I have a question for you, Spirit Lifters. How has this time in quarantine affected your way of working, or if you're in school or teaching, impacted the way education is? I mean, it's been such a different way of living now. So I'd be curious to know your insights on this, and please comment below. It'd be really interesting to know. Today, I have an amazing person to talk about this subject. Her name is Pamela Jean. Pamela Jean is the author of The Magic of Persuasion, a bestseller from Penguin Random House. And she is known as the Magician of Persuasion for her ability to identify and systematize the communication process that exists within successful relationships and negotiations, for her passion to share these different audiences. Pamela, welcome to Spirit Lift, and it's a pleasure to have you.
Devin, the pleasure is all mine. Thank you for this invitation.
No, thank you so much. And just before I would like you to tell the Spirit Lifters a little bit more about yourself, a little more about your background, and then to start off, can you please let us know, everyone watching, all the Spirit Lifters, how this situation we're living in 2020, from your point of view, will change in the short term, in the medium term, in the long run, the way we work and the way we're educated. So a little bit about yourself in more detail, that would be awesome, and just direct to that question, okay?
Yes, of course. Well, I'm a writer, I'm a communication professional, and I'm a communication counselor. So I help a lot of people to fix or to systematize or to work on their communication abilities. I give
Well,
workshops.
You have to teach me, by the way. I have to get better. So.
I will be glad to do that.
All right, perfect.
So I love all the communication processes, and I'm a specialist in that. And I'm an international speaker, and I teach workshops and I train people and I coach people who are speakers and all that stuff. Okay. So yes, I think Devin, this contingency has forced many companies and professionals who were against this kind of practices like video conferences, video presentations, even video negotiations, or simply home office. And now they had to implement them. And even older people who usually refused to use technology because they were afraid, and now they had to learn how to feel comfortable with it. This include, of course, kids. This includes teachers who at the beginning felt confused. We all felt confused with online classes. And now we are getting familiar with this technique. Like, try keeping a 3-year-old kid in front of a screen for an hour. I have a 3-year-old kid, and it's been crazy.
Really? Wow. Okay.
I mean, even now, door-to-door sellers or potential businesses like restaurants have had to find new ways of reaching their clients. So, as every crisis does, this contingency has given us many learnings and many opportunities to grow, to expand, to be more creative. And yes, as a friend of mine told me yesterday, Pam, growing hurts, but it hurts more not to grow. So right. Yes, many of
That's
us.
Very cool.
Yes. I mean, because many of us are feeling stressed by not being able to fulfill these new requirements or to adapt to these new circumstances. And it's normal. But as we human beings are the resilient type, believe me, we will. And the only constant in life is change. So even if we make it conscious or not, unconsciously, we will know how to adapt. So we have to be faithful.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and we will adapt. And you're right. And that's a great insight you have. Do you see, Pamela, like, Yeah, and I think kind of sorry, before we get into my question, I was thinking in my mind while you were saying this is that I think certain cultures are more open to the idea of home office and are more flexible for many reasons, because a lot of people see in other cultures, like I'm speaking from personal experience with people I've spoken to, like certain countries and cultures, there is generally a culture of more home office because people take into consideration the climate, climate effects by, if you have too many cars on the street, how that affects the environment. You know, reducing time to commute and having more time to actually rest and recuperate at home. Attend to personal matters with their kids, etc. I mean, there's several things that some cultures are already accustomed to this. And now the whole world's having to readapt to this. So, I mean, do you think that the way we're educated and the way we work, all this impact will have a more like universal permanency, like impact across the board, or will things go back to the old way of being like before this happened?
We've learned a lot of advantages from these. I mean, for example, as you've said, we can save a lot of time in traffic. Here in Mexico, we didn't want, many of the companies didn't want the workers to make home office.
Yeah.
Okay, but
now, why is that? Why like in your opinion, why is it that some companies and certain organizations don't want that? What's the reason? What's the reason for me sitting here doing what I'm doing and doing the same exact thing physically in the workplace? What is that in your opinion?
Okay, let's check the advantages and the disadvantages so we can understand or figure out what they are thinking, right?
Okay.
For example, I think the traffic thing, at least in Mexico, is awesome. But you can also work with people worldwide. For example, I live in Mexico, and in my online workshops, I have all type of Latin students, which is great. And I also, I've just signed an agreement, for example, with the company from Monterrey, which is so many kilometers away from my city. And we're about to start working together on a new company and starting. And this wouldn't be possible if we weren't willing to work this way. Okay, so these are great things. And yesterday, listen to this, Devin. I was reading on a magazine that there has been an increase in productivity due to home office the past weeks. And that's interesting. I think this is because since you can't have a social life, at least in the contingency, the only thing you can do is work, right? We're stuck and isolated in our houses. We have nowhere else to turn but to work. And normally people who have an office schedule try to stick to that schedule and they lose a lot of time. And I believe that at home you can find more working time. But this is a very big but, okay?
Yeah.
We have to be realistic. We're facing a different type of home office. This is an isolated home office.
Yeah.
But it's the fact that people who are responsible and productive will be either at home or at an office. And those people who are not responsible will never be productive, no matter the place. But one of the biggest disadvantages are the distractions. And I think this is why many companies don't want their workers to have a home office. The distractions you have due to an everyday running of a house, for example, at least in Mexico, there are a lot of it. For example, people offering services you require like gas, like water, or the distractions you get from the people living with you. And for example, in my case, kids, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And other cases, pets or wives or husbands.
Yeah.
Or for example, if you're not able to have the tools you need for these activities, like a good computer, a good internet connection, an adequate space, lighting, well, that will represent a great limitation, right?
Yeah.
But maybe the most important disadvantage is that we are social beings and we need human contact for psychological well-being, as well as for networking.
Sure.
Also, Devin, to transmit emotions, feelings, empathy, even trust, for example, in negotiations, it's easier. All the communication in general is easier in person. So maybe these are some kind of the issues we are facing when we are trying to do home office.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a great insight, and I agree with a lot of that too. But at the same token, it's, imagine how much at the same time we're saving on money with commuting, right? Like gas, like we're not spending as much out, in a consumeristic way. I think if you're working right now, and you're fortunate to be in that position to work, which is, such a thing to be grateful for. I mean, you are saving a lot of money by not spending as much out right now. I mean, I spend a lot more on food, because I eat like crazy. But and you spend more time with your family. I'm actually working more than I did before. Like I'm working an hour more every day than I did before, and getting more things done. In the sense that I'm not what I mean in the sense that I was getting a lot done before this, obviously, but getting more done because I'm not having as much time in the traffic, going to other places after work, coming, back home exhausted, waking up tired, things like that, so energy levels are better, eating a bit more healthy. So I think there's two sides to this. If you're in business, you need certain interactions that are more personable, definitely. I think that's absolutely true. But I mean, also like the balance, I think these are all about the balances in your home too. Maybe if, you get the good agreement with, the wife or the kids or the dog even, about how you need your day to be structured to attend to them and tend to your work, it can really work pretty well, actually. So do you see there being in the future, Pamela, more of a balance between being in the physical workspace and at home, or how do you see that?
Yeah, totally. Let me tell you about my experience in this contingency. For example, I have a 3-year-old girl and a 1-year-old boy. Yeah. And oh my God, I really miss my daughter's school because that gave me around 5 hours each day for me, or for being able to be with my baby boy. But now I have to take care of both children at the same time. And both have such different needs that because of their different ages, they don't even play together yet. And you can't play with both at the same time. So it's been crazy, Devin. Yeah. On the other hand, professionally, it has been a challenge because my main income comes from the trainings, conferences, and workshops I give in medium and big enterprises, you see, which obviously are now managing the most important issues that have not much to do with trainings, right? So yes. Yeah. In my case, I'm trying to work from home, developing new materials, creating new workshops, attending video conferences from the clients who need assessment on communication skills or strategies. And I'm also teaching online workshops, but it's been really, really difficult to find adequate time to focus and to be as productive as usual. But I really believe that, for example, if kids are being able to go to school or maybe spend some days, I was gonna say days with their grandparents.
Okay. Oh no.
For some hours.
Oh yeah. Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah. Yes, I think this could possibly be a great situation and we could adapt. Yeah. But let me tell you something. Due to the actual situation, as it hasn't been managed as a long-term issue, because governments told us it's going to be like a 15-day issue. No?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
So we were just hanging there waiting for those 15 days to end. And after those 15 days ended, then they told us, okay, 15 more. And after those 15 more, so it hasn't been managed as a long-term issue, but rather as a situation. So people haven't put long-term mechanisms in place. We are in a denial stage. We can call it that way. We are like shocked and stand by. Nobody wants this to be long term, and it's not the same to adjust thinking of this situation as a momentary or a short-term situation than to adjust knowing that this is going to be permanent. If we thought as this, not the contingency, but this kind of
like mitigating health-related, virus-related issues, right?
Exactly. If we know this was going to be a long-term situation, in that case, we will be searching for deep changes or adjustments. So yes, I think we could live with this in the case it was confirmed as a permanent or long-term situation, as long, for example, in my case, as my clients know that too, because otherwise they will be waiting for this situation to pass in order to hire me or to contact me. So I would be forced to keep improvising online workshops instead of making a long-term strategy. So we need to be informed about this. But yes, I think we should implement these strategies and all this we've learned in this contingency to implement that on our daily basis, on our daily work, because they're awesome tools.
Yeah.
We should
absolutely.
stick to them, right?
Sure. I mean, and I can understand, and I really do empathize for people like in your situation or others that really do rely on having to have their work in the person, having to be outside and doing certain things. I mean, that's where this issue becomes much more challenging and much more difficult, because your personal economic situation would depend on certain activities with other people and being outside, and I completely get that, empathize with that, and yeah, I think the future is really in a way showing us that education can be done in a whole different modality. Also, work can be done in a whole different modality. Both have its pros and cons, but it's about finding that balance and finding the appropriate way for both things to work. Because you and I are in Mexico City right now, and Mexico City is a big city. It's a lot of people, and and there's a lot of when Siri's yelling at me. The environment's a big issue in Mexico City, right? We do rely in most of our cases on certain public transport or cars. There's millions of cars circulating daily here in the city, and that really has a huge cost on our bodies, from the pollution. So it's about finding the balance of what you can do, what with the situation like we're living in now and for the future, and doing things in the physical, in the more personal way, like how life was before all this. Do you
totally.
agree with that?
I think we have to, the keyword is balance, absolutely. For example, I've just managed to create a hybrid. I'm teaching a public speaking class, okay? And before this happened, this public speaking class was all presential, okay? 15 hours with people there, because I thought it was important for them to be there and to see me and to feel me, and so I could feel them, and so they could practice in front of an audience and all this stuff. Right. But for example, now half of this workshop is online, all the theory is online, and then we are going to meet when the contingency stops. We are going to meet in a presential class so we can practice. So it's great. That's the balance that you were talking about.
Yeah, perfect. Because as well, like you can do the work you need to do, especially like you said, your economic situation depends a lot on those type of ways of being personally there and interacting, networking, etc., and delivering what you do as your business. So that's important. And then, what I think, in a way, this is my own sort of personal opinion, but I think we're losing a sense of our family sometimes by just being overrun with work. I think a lot. And I'm not just saying that. I'm not really saying that personally as much for me, but also people that I've spoken with. It's like, I didn't know my wife like that, or the husband like that, or, like, because there wasn't too much of the balance between the family life and the work life, and I think in a very strange way, this whole situation's showing that to us again.
And with that, it comes another challenge. When you spend a lot of time with one person or with a group of people, then you need to learn how to communicate in an assertive way.
Yeah.
Because now you can fight and you're going to affect your relationships. But you are so right. I'm getting to know, for example, my oldest daughter, and she's showing a lot of emotions about this, because she's feeling confused about having us, my husband and me, all this time here, but she's also so fascinated about having her parents with her all the time. So she's like, sometimes she's happy, and sometimes she doesn't want to see us anymore,
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah, and that's a very interesting thing, especially for kids, because they're depending on the age too, they're probably like a little bit confused, like, why am I seeing my parents so much now and not so much with the friends, like, what's going on here, so, but it's good as well that they're spending more time with you, and
yeah, they're like, please play with me, and then please leave me alone.
Yeah, like come and get out of here, so
it's not easy to be the teacher, the mother, the one who feeds her, the one who gets her to sleep. It's not easy to be all those figures in her life. He's tired of me, and I'm tired of her.
Yeah,
we love each other.
There's days like that, for sure. I completely get it. And Pamela, just to finish off, what would be your insight or tip as far as anyone, everyone's in this situation now virtually. I mean, not in every single country, but for anyone watching this, what would be your tip for them to, feel good about this situation now and feel good about a different way of working or learning or teaching in the future?
Well, first of all, you have to be, you should know you are stressed out. We all are, because we're facing a different situation. And when we face a different situation, our mind interpret this situation as a life-threatening situation, you see, because it's new, it's different. So we enter into a stressing mindsetting. I don't know how to say it.
Yeah, in a stressful mindset. Yeah.
It's stressful, right? Mm-hmm. That's right. So you should know we are all feeling the same. So just be patient.
Right.
Be flexible. Maybe you're not going to be as productive as you usually are, as it happens to me, or maybe you're going to be more productive as it happens to Devin. It doesn't matter, because maybe you're going to listen to your friends saying, oh, I have too much work and I'm happy working from home. Or for example, like it happens to me, mothers saying, oh, it's amazing to be with my children all day long, and I'm homeschooling them and I'm being so successful about this.
Right.
So maybe you're going to feel stressed out because you cannot understand their way of thinking, because you are living a very different situation. So just be patient, be flexible, and use this time to create, to think out of the box. How can you turn your business? How can you think of different ways or different channels to offer your services or your products or whatever you do? So this is a time to create. This is a pause. This is a time to think, and this is a time to be with your family and with yourself. A lot of emotions and feelings are going to come out.
Yeah.
This has been shocking for all of us. So just breathe in, breathe out, and hug yourself. And
okay.
as I
haven't done that yet. Yeah. There we go. There you go. Feels good. Yeah. Oh, that's excellent. That's a very good insight and tips. And yeah, it's just there's certain things we can really take the opportunity and get more involved in right now, especially. And patience is, like you said, very key. And just embrace creativity. Creativity can be huge for us right now. So that's a really great tip, Pamela. And really, thank you so much for being here, Pamela, and Spearlifting. Where can people find you if they want to know more about you?
Well, I have a web page, and you can find me. It's PamelaJeanMx.
Mm-hmm.
And in my social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, I have a YouTube channel. You can find me as PamelaJeanMx. Without the dot, but it's the same.
Okay, perfect. No problem. We're going to, Spearlifters, we're going to include all of her information in the description box below. Thank you again, Pamela. And thank you, Spearlifters. And we hope you have a great day. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Devin.